Okay, welcome back my faithful subscribers. Yes, you have sat me back in this chair and gone, you need to talk more Thrones. So here I am. You know, you have summoned me. Can't believe I listened to that Lord of the Light. He said that if I just told the story, I'd be done with it. But he's like, no, you pick up subscribers, so you have to talk more about it. So here I am. And now, let's get on to the video. Enough of me talking. Let's work out more Thrones. So why does the story of Game of Thrones seem so, well, confusing? Well, it's all about a few things that you need to know, and then you'll figure out that you can work out something really cool about this show. Like concepts. Is it concepts? Yeah, concepts of the show. Put out a few ideas of the concepts of the show, so like the games that we're playing, that we have to play, chess and poker, so we need to understand these, because the Long Night is basically a chess game. You have to understand the rules of how to put your opponent into a checkmate position. And that is how they beat the Night King in the end. They put him in a checkmate position. He is the one that's always moving his position. Bran doesn't move his, so obviously Bran has a move at the end to get rid of him. How do we know? How do we work it out? Well, it all depends how closely you've been following the show and to work out the story and how it is told. Everyone's like, it's like Lord of the Rings. Game of Thrones is not like Lord of the Rings, it's its own thing. When they say Lord of the Rings, they're talking about the band of a coin. This thing holds the two sides together. So what are the two sides that we find out? Well, if you watch your characters closely, they are not on a journey. They're on an adventure, and their adventure is controlled by their own beliefs that affect their own decisions. And then the Song of Ice and Fire is the religious aspect that influences them. So that is what is happening. So you have to understand what the Song of Ice and Fire is. Is it magic? No, it's the gods returning to the world. And then you have to understand how the dance is making them evolve along their way to the needed confrontation at the end with the Night King. That the Long Night is basically a chess game. You have to work the rules out to follow your characters to how they build their checkmate at the end for the Night King. And it all fits if you follow it that way. Then you have to understand your characters so you can follow them to understand the prophecy that is told through there with the team up to bring Bran a weapon. Then you have to understand how the show is being built the whole time and why has it gone from to being such a confusing nightmare. Now, how the story is constructed around your characters is simple. There's fruit on the tree, but that hasn't blossomed yet. What has happened is that a new tree has been grown to replace the old one that's on the other side of the wall. Yes, there's two worlds in this show, who would have thought? But we don't find that out. We're on our first venture through. This is why it's a three-parter that you have to go through. So our story starts as a seed, just like all our characters, they're all bunched up together. And then the roots will come, and then the story will spread, and then you can see how far our characters have ventured. And this is where the story gets really confusing, so this is where you have to pay close attention. They fracture their world with the past, present, and the future. You have to only find which ones really matter. So as the journey progresses up to season 7, they're only focusing on what needs to happen in the future. They're not worried about what's happening right there and then, and you've probably already worked out that there's a stalemate between the two queens. There's only one thing that really matters. It's getting the Night King out of this world. So what are they all doing? They're moving the story forward. There's nothing wrong with the writing, it's just your understanding of the story. So when the Long Night comes, they cram it all together. You get the trunk of the tree, you get the branches and the new branches and the leaves. That is why you need to find out the significance of the weirwood tree. But that's only what you find once you've forged your characters together, because they are forged together during that episode. just like Lightbringer is forged together in that episode in the show. So basically you have to do that with your characters, and if you can't do that, then you're completely lost. But you can't hand over Lightbringer to the hidden champion within the show, and then you can't forge Lightbringer on the outside, so you know the show. You see how everything is joining together. You have to work things out to understand this story. It's your mind that's needed, okay? You've got to look beyond the obvious. You've got to see that there is more than what you see. Now, with that being said, I'm here to help. So I'm going to say that once we have left this episode of The Long Night, we can move forward into something better. But the thing is, it all starts with this episode right there. You've got to get past it. You've got to understand it. Somehow you have got to make sense of it. I made sense of it, and then I was able to go on and enjoy the last 3 episodes. Everything that I thought was going to happen played out. Everything that I focused on was what eventually happened. It was different. I thought other things were going to happen, but there were always choices that could be made, but they were already decided. I just didn't know it by then. So now let me just say that we're dealing with a silent protagonist, and that silent protagonist is Bran. And a silent protagonist will always be king, always be top dog at the end. So this is how I have answered the prophecy of the prince that was promised and Azor Ahai. So please enjoy the fruits of my labor. Bran the Broken, woken dragon, spoken raven. Azor Ahai was his name, but to those who failed him, he's known as the Lord of the Light. His old self will wake dragons from stone before he passes the torch to his clone. The old one is now reborn, and he is now called Bran. Bran will now finish his grand plan. The magician, with control and influence, will help those in their time of great darkness. A prince and princess will rise to bring their hidden champion a powerful weapon, but only one will help forge the weapon known as Lightbringer, as the other will go mad with obtained power. The one who only cared for others will become the one who was promised. When our united heroes band together, the great weapon Lightbringer shall be forged, and the one who wields its power will be Azor Ahai, the Lord of the Light, the Lord of the Rings with the sword of the king. That person we'll know as Bran the Broken, and he'll hit the right chord and sing us the song of ice and fire. And there we go. That is it. That's all I'm going to talk about in this video. So basically, when the roots have all spread, they cram it all together. They give you the trunk and the branches and everything else. And then at the very end, they give you the fruit on top, which is Bran. Now you have to go back and work out how he did it all. That's your next trek through. But if you haven't gotten your first trek through properly, then that makes it really hard, doesn't it? You think you've been given a bullshit ending. The bullshit ending is only there because you believe that it is. You've got to change that belief around and go, maybe I've missed something. And then you get the fruits for your labor. Pretty tasty. I mean, I can see it was worth the effort digging around for all these clues. Now it's up to you. Do you believe what I tell you? Do you go and give it a go? Because now that I've got some subscribers who want to know things, I've got to go and do up all these character profiles to bring them to the long night before I can actually break down the long night, because no one has picked up on the things they need to do beforehand. So if people go and do that, they might be able to start talking about Game of Thrones differently, and then the word will spread, and then my job will be done. Treat Game of Thrones with respect, and you will get respect back from it. And you'll get a better story from it. Trust me, I found it. It's up to you to start listening and to start going back and revisiting certain things so you can see how things go. I can tell you now, if you go and just watch Arya and the Hound, you will find that Arya is always reacting to death, okay, to the death of her family. So she's getting into situations, she's starting them first. So what does the hound do? He has to step in and protect her. He always has to handle the situations for her. So when you get to the long night and she's in a situation that she can't control, guess who has to come in and help handle that situation for her? The hound. And what does Arya learn in Bravos? She learns how to end a situation. But because they're confronting death at the very end, who knows how you're going to react in that situation. That's why the hound goes back to being a scared little pup. That's why Arya gets stuck in a rut. And then it all comes together. Everyone learns their own thing. Everyone on the outside learns their own lesson. And then they move forward and they provide the weapon to Bran. And that is how the answer for Azor Ahai and the Lightbringer weapon is forged. So, trust me on this one. You can go do it, you can watch it all, you can see what happens. And then at the very end of Arya's journey with the hound is the one who steps up first. So, it's all there. You've got to just process that story properly. Process it properly. Think about silent protagonist. Think about what he's doing. Now the thing is, to learn about the silent protagonist, you have to crack that dialogue in the long night. So, if you can't work that out, then you just have to be patient. Everyone else can go back and watch the characters, because you can all do it. It's all there already for you. You can watch everything. Okay? You can watch that Jon Snow is no longer feeling, he's only thinking. You can watch that Daenerys is no longer thinking, she's only feeling. And you can see at the end, Jon Snow says it doesn't feel right. He's got his heart back. That's the answer for the prince that was promised. It all makes sense. There's a story there if you want to find it. You've got to be willing to trust the writing. You've got to be willing to trust the show. It may decline a little bit in the quality, but that's the thing. Maybe it was designed that way. Maybe it's to, keep fooling you, make you think about the wrong things. You start believing that the writing's bad, you're not going to find the story there, then are you? Nothing to do with the writing. It's all about how you go about finding the answers for the show. So, answers for the story, should I say. So, story's there, everything's good, and hopefully this video has helped. So there you go. I'm at the end of my tale. Do you still think I'm crazy? Well, if so, then I guess you're not going to subscribe to this channel. But if you are a subscriber and you have, visited this channel and you have become a subscriber and you'd like to know more about Game of Thrones, then you should know that this is probably the place you're going to get the right answer. So start communicating, start leaving comments, and then I'll start bringing forward more answers. Okay, it is a tricky show, but the story's there. Trust that there's a story and you will find the story. It is one that requires you to put a bit of work into it. It's not just a sit down and watch show. It's not written like that. Stop thinking that everything is written the same way as everything else. Not everything goes in a straight line. Those stories are pretty boring. That's why they're not really picked up by, publishers. They like the ones that, branch off and are confusing. They're the ones that are done by creative writers. So you should be respecting the writers at all times. They took on a creative piece and they delivered something that is truly unbelievably complicated for people that aren't thinking about it correctly. Okay, I picked up on everything in season 7. I picked up on their dialogue, like what their characters were doing. I never lost faith in the writing. I enjoyed the show for what it was. It was entertaining. It was confusing. It was challenging my mind. And I like that. I like things that challenge my mind. It helps me escape the reality of this bullshit world sometimes. And that is what that show has done. And now I'm bringing forward information that is correct about it. Stop saying the writing is bad. It's nothing to do with the writing. It's all how you read the show. They put it together like a magic show. They showed the things, okay, so you had to watch and read it so you could tell what they were doing. That is your job. If you're not prepared to do your job, then you're not going to answer the story, are you? You're not going to find the story. So there you go. That is me done. Anyone who has talked badly about this show can go, chow down on some sour lemons because you deserve it. You call your pieces reviews. They're not reviews. They're bullshit personal opinions. And you're giving everyone else the wrong opinion about the show. Your opinion doesn't matter if you can't actually find out what the show is actually about first. So in my opinion, the show is great. It stands up to everything that a creative piece should be. It is challenging, it is complicated, so you need to be on the ball. You need to be respectful of your role as a viewer when it comes to handling creative pieces. You go to an art exhibition and do you look at a painting, do you go and say that artist is a shithead, he can't paint for anything? No, you don't. Because you don't understand the brushwork that they've done. You don't understand if they followed like one single pattern in their brushwork. You don't understand it, you can't complain about the person who made it, okay? That's the same in writing. If you don't understand what they've done, you shut your mouth. And now my rant is done, my conclusion is over. Thank you for watching this video. Enjoy the efforts of someone who has put in the effort to understand the story of something that is, quite frankly, very well put together. And I'll see you in my next video. Don't know what I'm going to talk about in my next video. I think I might just crack all the confusion in the long night. And that's going to take forever. Talking chess and rules of chess and... that's going to take forever. Anyway,